We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Hey Amud Aleph and Meseches Nazir. This is Nazir Daf 55a. The Gemara says, Lema ketanoi, let us say it's a machlokas tanoim. When it comes to Eretz Amim, there's a gezerah that it's tameh. So is that because of the avira? Is that because of the airspace? Or is that mishum gusha? Is that because the land itself is considered possibly tameh? And the Gemara says, Hanichnas le'Eretz Amim. It says in the Bryce, if somebody enters Eretz Amim, the land outside of Eretz Yisrael, b'sheida, teva, umigdal, in a chest or a box or a cabinet, and the idea over here is that there's no ohel. He's not creating an ohel. He's separating himself from the actual land. So Rebbe mitami, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda mitahar. Rebbe says that the individual is tameh, and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says tahar. And the Gemara says, my lav is it not? Rebbe savra mishum avira. Rebbe says not only is there a gezerah on the actual land, in which case in this situation he's separating himself from the land, he's not coming in contact, and he's not creating an ohel over the land, but Rebbe says there's also a gezerah mishum avira. The airspace itself is tameh, and therefore the individual is tameh. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda savra mishum gusha. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says no, the only gezerah is on the land itself. There is no gezerah in the airspace, and that's why the individual is tahar. And we should point out over here that the Rosh explains on the previous Amud that if you say the gezerah is mishum gusha, the idea is that we don't know. Maybe there are mesim buried that we don't know about in the land itself, and that's why there's a decree of tumah in Eretz Amim. But if you extend the gezerah even to avira, even to the airspace, that would be a more lenient kind of tumah of that's encompassed within that gezerah. It would not be the kind of tumah that would require a person to have a 7-day purification from it. And the idea of that gezerah would simply be to keep people from leaving Eretz Yisrael and going to Eretz Amim. That's the Rosh's approach to understanding this machlokas. In any case, the Gemara is saying it's a machlokas tanoim over here. Rebbe says that the avira is also, the gezerah includes the avira as well. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says no, the gezerah is only on the land of Eretz Amim. And the Gemara says, lo, no, the kuli alma mishum gusha. Could be that everybody agrees over here that the gezerah is only on the land. Mar savar oel zaruk shmei oel, but one Tana holds that if you have an oel that is traveling shmei oel, that is considered to be an oel, it creates a separation. That's the sheet of Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. That's why he would say tar. Umar savar, and the other one holds lo shmei oel. It's not considered an oel, and therefore it doesn't create a proper separation. That's the sheet of Rebbe. That's why Rebbe says tameh. And the Gemara says vatanya, but we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, that Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says teva shimaleya kalim. Let's say you have a box that's full of kalim, v'zorka al panei hames, and it gets thrown over the dead body, be oel in an oel. So tamei, it's going to be tamei in that situation. V'im haisa munachas torah, but if it stays still, if it's not traveling, then it's going to be pure, meaning the oel is going to separate from the tumah. And you see from this brayso that Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says that oel zarek is not considered an ohel. And so if he says oel zarek is not considered an ohel, that contradicts what we just said. We just explained in the brayso above that Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says tahar because an oel zarek is considered to be an effective ohel. Here it seems to be that the oel zarek is not considered to be an effective ohel. And so the Gemara instead says ela dekuli alma misham avira. Rather go the other direction. In the above brayso machlokas between Rabbi and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, everybody agrees that they did make a gezerah in Eretz Amim because of the airspace. But however, Umar Savar, but one holds, Kaven de lo shchicha, since this is a situation to enter Eretz Amim b'sheida tevu migdal is something that's not a common thing to do. So lo gazru bei rabbanan. So the gezerah didn't include that kind of scenario. Umar Savar, and the other one holds afagav de lo shchicha, even though that's not a common way to enter Eretz Amim, gazru bei rabbanan. Still, the rabbanan said there is a gezerah, and that's why Rebbe says tameh in that case. And the Gemara says, Vatanya, we learned in a brayso, this is a support for the above explanation. Hanichnas la'eretz ha'amim, if somebody enters Eretz ha'amim, b'sheida, teva, umigdal, in a chest, or a box, or a cabinet, tahor, he's going to be tar, he'll be pure. B'karon u'visvino u'viskaria, but if he enters in a wagon, or he enters in a ship, or he enters in an askaria, and an askaria is a raft, so in that case, tameh, the person is tameh, and you see the brayso is making a distinction between traveling in a common fashion, and traveling in a way that's milsa de lo shchich, and something that's uncommon. When it's uncommon, there's no gezerah, and that's why the brayso says tahor. And the Gemara continues, if you want, I could say another approach to the machlokas between Rebbe and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Hacha shema yotzi rosho v'rubo l'sham pligi. The real machlokas over here is we're afraid, is he going to stick out his head in the majority of his body outside of the oel? In other words, really the oel should protect him from the tumah, and really the gezerah is only on the gusha, it's only on the actual land of Eretz Amim. But the question is, do we make a gezerah or not? and Rebbe who says Tameh makes a Gezerah, and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda who says Tar, he does not make such a Gezerah. And the Gemara says, V'atani, we have a brisa that supports this approach as well. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says, Hanichnas l'Eretz Ha'amim v'shei detevo migdal. If a person enters Eretz Ha'amim in a chest or a box or a cabinet, Tahar, he is Tahar, at sheyotzi l'sham rosho rubo, until he sticks out his head and the majority of his body. And so you see, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, we don't make a Gezerah that maybe he's going to stick out his head and the majority of his body. That's why Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says Tahar, but Rebbe does make such a Gezerah. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "Umaschil umona," that let's say you have a situation of a Nazir who is a confirmed mitzora. So the halach is that while he's a confirmed mitzora, we suspend the count. Those days don't count towards the days of Nazirus, but he doesn't have to start over when he purifies himself from his saras. He doesn't have to start over the count. He just counts from where he left off. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Chisda says, Lo shanu ela b'nazirus muetis. The Mishnah is only talking about a situation where the person has a small number of days of Nazirus, meaning it's just a 30-day Nazirus. What Rav Chisda is really saying is the reason why the days when he's a confirmed Mitzorah don't count towards the Nazirus, really they should count towards the Nazirus. It's just that you need to have 30 days of hair growth in any kind of Nazirus, and therefore if the person's a Mitzorah, so part of the purification process is to shave his hair, so he needs to have that 30 days of hair growth, so that's why when he purifies himself from being a Mitzorah, he's going to need another 30 days. It's not because the days with Saras didn't count, it's because it happens to be you need 30 days of hair growth. And therefore, Aval ben Nazirus Meruba, therefore says Rav Chisda, if the person has a long Nazirus, let's say it's a 100-day Nazirus, so then Mislaknami Sulkinle, so then he can even count the days when he's a confirmed Mitzorah. Those can count towards his Nazirus. That's not a problem, because he's still going to have anyways more than 30 days, or he'll have at least 30 days remaining of the Nazirus, and therefore he'll have enough time for the hair to grow, and there's no need to not count those days and to have to make up those days. Those days actually do count. It's just for practical reasons when it's a Nazirus Muetis, you need to have 30 days of hair growth, so that's why those days don't end up counting, because after he's purified from being a Mitzorah, he needs those 30 days in order to grow hair. And the Gemara continues, Meseches Rav Shravya. Rav Shravya asks a question from our Mishnah. The phrasing of our Mishnah is Maschil umona miyad. It says that he begins counting immediately once he's purified. Ve'ein mevatel bohenes hakodmin, and it doesn't nullify the earlier count. It doesn't nullify the days which he counted earlier. And so the Gemara says, how do we understand that line? B'mai, what exactly is the Mishnah talking about? What's the case? Ilema ben Nazirus muetis. If you're talking about only a 30-day Nazirus, so then it actually would undo the earlier days, because remember, he needs to wait a full 30 days to grow hair. So the fact that he counted anything before he became a Mitzorah is not going to count, because Kaboy Gidol Seir, because he needs to be able to grow out his hair. So the Mishnah itself cannot be talking like Rav Chisda says about a Nazirus muetis. We will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis.